Hello there, this is Ty the Movie Guy, and I just got back from watching Dune Part 2, and boy do we have a lot to talk about. And some stuff might even be negative, despite what all the praise people are giving this movie, starting with my theater did not have the Dune popcorn bucket. Which was so disappointing. I've never bought a popcorn bucket before, but this one I really wanted for certain reasons, but that we're not going to talk about. But yeah, so that was super disappointing, but we got tons of stuff about the actual movie to talk about, so let's get into it. And before we get started, I want to give a spoiler warning for the whole video. I don't really want to try to just dance around all the spoilery stuff, so I'm just going to give you a warning right now. This is a full spoiler review, and with that said, let's start talking about the good parts of the movie. And right off the bat, one of the best parts of this movie, and the first one, is just the cinematography. This movie finds a way to take such a boring color palette like orange and tan and make it so gosh darn beautiful, which no other movie can really do. Usually you like a variety of colors in your movie to make it beautiful, but this one is just restricted to warm colors and dulled colors, but it still manages to make it so gorgeous, which I find pretty remarkable that they managed to do that. So that's one of the great pluses of this movie, and the first one of course, and also with the score is amazing from the first one. And I don't know if they really made new score. It sounded the same as before. I'm assuming they probably did revamp it or do some new score. It sounded the same as before, but it was as good as always. Of course, by Hans Zimmer, one of the greatest composers of all time, cranking out another amazing score and just really elevating all the scenes and everything like that. And speaking of scenes, there's 3 scenes that come to mind that really stood out to me and I really loved. The first scene was Paul Atreides riding the sandworm for the first time. Like we talked about earlier, the score was especially amazing in that scene and really made the whole scene when it was he was slowly getting up on top of the sandworm, standing up, and the score started to rise and everything. And I don't want to embarrass myself trying to mimic the score, but if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about and how amazing the score was and just elevated that whole scene, and I loved that so much. And then the second scene I really liked was the Harkin Coliseum scene Austin Butler's character was fighting in. I thought that was super cool, and I have a little bit of a problem with that. He's considered such an amazing fighter for fighting a guy who wasn't high off of a drug. So how is he considered an amazing fighter just for defeating a sober guy? I know he was a Arrakis soldier, I suppose, but he was just some random Arrakis soldier. And of course, Austin Butler's character did defeat him, but it didn't seem like such a challenge, and didn't really need to make him such an amazing warrior. It should have been someone stronger or something like that. So I had a little bit of a problem with how he was considered such a good fighter for defeating some random soldier who was sober. Good for you. The whole Coliseum scene looked super cool to introduce the character, and the black and white color scheme and everything was amazing, and the fighting was cool. But just if you think about the reality, he should have fought someone stronger. So I love that scene, but it also has a little bit of a problem personally with me, and I'd love if someone were to clear that up. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe that character was actually in the first movie and he was actually really strong and I just don't remember. But I have a bit of a problem with that, but kind of minor. And then the final scene was the one-on-one duel between Paul Atreides and Austin Butler's character, whatever his name was. I know it started with an F or whatever. All the names are hard to pronounce, but this scene that I have in the background here, seeing it in the trailer, I knew it was going to be a super cool scene. I just love one-on-one fights with 2 of the main characters and whatever. And it was a cool scene, and it was just, I wish it was longer. If you're going to have this big dramatic fight scene, make it longer. And then also the way Austin Butler's character died was kind of underwhelming. Paul Atreides had a knife at his chest, and then you kind of just hear a stabbing, and then you find out it went in the bad guy's chest, and then he dies. So that was a little disappointing. I wish it was kind of longer. And also there was a part where he mentions Zendaya's character, and I got really excited. I thought it'd be super cool if he killed her, and that would just really piss off Paul Atreides and like turn him to the dark side even more. I thought that would have been super cool, but then she didn't end up dying, which I do understand because I'm sure she didn't die in the book, so I don't think they'd want to change that much of the movie, so that makes sense. But yeah, that scene was great. I love duels like that. I just wish it was longer and a cooler death. So lots of cool scenes, just tiny little nitpicks within a couple of them. Okay, I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but it is time to talk about the negatives, because I know a lot of people are giving this movie like a 10 out of 10 and saying it's like super amazing, and it is, but it still has a couple problems, specifically towards the villain side of the movie. And starting with Christopher Walken's character, the Emperor. And the Emperor was like mentioned in the first movie. We never saw him, but he was like mentioned, of course, a lot in the first movie. So finally seeing him was really cool to see. But you know, we saw him in the trailer and everything, and just from the name, you kind of assume he's gonna kind of give off like Palpatine vibes, like you know, this old man who doesn't fight obviously because of how old he is, but like he's this smart guy conniving in the background and stuff like that. And he still could be, but we never really got to see that side of him in this movie. He didn't seem very like formidable at all. His daughter did like most of the stuff for him. Like she seemed more important than he is, and then the one witch lady was also seemed like more smart and conniving and everything more than him. So I don't know, he didn't really do much. He just kind of sat around, talked a little bit, and went to Arrakis and lost, and then bowed down to Paul Atreides. So I hope we get to see more of him in the third movie, and I hope he becomes like more evil and smart and conniving. But he just didn't do too much in this movie. And like considering they cast Christopher Walken, such like a legendary actor, you think they would give him more stuff to do and more lines to say and stuff like that. And then we also talked about Austin Butler's character earlier, and people are saying he's like almost Heath Ledger Joker level type villain, and whoever said that, no offense, but you're kind of crazy. Like he was good, like don't get me wrong. I feel like solidifies the fact that he's not just Elvis and he has range, he can do other roles, but it's nowhere near Heath Ledger Joker. Let's be honest, I don't think any villain can touch that level of status or just amazingness, but definitely not Austin Butler's character. I'm happy for the guy that he's like getting more roles and showing his range and everything like that, but it's just, come on, let's not compare him to Heath Ledger Joker. He's not even close in my opinion, so it's not really his fault, but he's a good villain, just not that level. So that's kind of my big problem-ish. Like Christopher Walken didn't really do much, and then also a little bit confusing. Like I watched the first one yesterday to prepare, and I'm glad I did, because there were some things I wouldn't have remembered when I watched it 3 years ago. But also it was still confusing with like so many like made up names to remember and different stuff like that. It got pretty confusing. And also it seemed like Paul Atreides, his character arc into Crazy felt kind of fast. Like he was kind of like training, learning to, you know, do the ways of the Sand People. I'm so bad with these names. Like I said earlier, there's so many made-up names that it's so hard to remember, but we're just gonna call them the Sand People. He was like learning their ways and everything, riding sandworms and all of that, and then all of a sudden he became a bad guy. So like there was a bit of time between then for him to turn, or no, I guess he's not a bad guy, but turn crazy. But I feel like they should have showed it like progressing more and more, I feel. So that's another problem. And yeah, so I think I covered all the problems. It's like Emperor should have like done more, a little bit confusing, and Paul Atreides, his whole progression to Crazy should have been shown more. So I still really like this movie. I just thought I needed to bring up some of my complaints with the movie because everyone's raving about it, but I don't want to just jump on the bandwagon. I do like it, but I gotta bring up like my problems with it. And I would love the super fans of this movie to comment and like prove I'm wrong so I can enjoy the movie as much as you do. And yeah, just help me understand like the problems I have with the movie, and hopefully I'll like it even more. Oh, and also one more problem is just like part one and a lot like Across the Spider-Verse and other stuff like Lord of the Rings, all these kind of movies feel like a portion of a really long movie. And we knew going into this movie there was going to be a third movie, and so this just feels like a chunk of a bigger picture, which is good and bad. Like once I see all three, I'm sure it's the whole trilogy is going to be like amazing, but if I just watch one, like I wanna know more, and I wanna see the full picture. Like it wasn't much of a cliffhanger, but it was like I still want to see the whole thing, and it feels like a piece of a puzzle. So I'm excited to see the whole thing, but yeah, I think those are my problems. I feel like I'm super negative, even though I still do really like this movie. Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I want people to prove me wrong and explain it so I can enjoy it even more. So those are all my thoughts, I think. I'd give this like a 9 out of 10, I want to say. The more I think about it, it might go down to an 8 maybe. Don't hate me, don't like come after me, but it might become an 8. I don't know. It definitely won't be a 10. Might stay at a 9. Might go down to 8. Just time will tell for me to process this whole thing. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I feel very like scatterbrained about like thinking about this whole movie because like I feel like I'm supposed to really love it because everyone is, but I don't know. I don't love it as much as everyone, which kind of hurts, but those are my thoughts, and farewell.